Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secure After Dark podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tanner, and I've got here with me a special guest. This is Ringmaster, also known as Patrick Quirk. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tanner, for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've followed your social media stuff for a while, and you're just always posting super cool stuff. I love some of the war driving stuff and a lot of the cool hardware projects you had going on. And then really caught my attention with some of your more recent projects. I want to ask you about. So I guess you just kind of want to
Sure.
introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Yeah, I'm Ringmaster. My name is Patrick Quirk. I've been in cybersecurity for probably about a decade now at this point. Um, and yeah, I would say my area of specialty or expertise is specifically with war driving and Wi-Fi and trying to expand all that. And then, yeah, the Venezuelan stuff, that was kind of a relatively new project that kind of came about out of the blue. And I certainly got lucky with the timing because we extracted Maduro out of Venezuela as I was actively in a lot of the servers downloading a lot of their data, which was pretty cool at the time, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, so tell us all about that. How did that come about? Was it just what inspired you to start even digging into that?
Well, I am actually half Venezuelan. My mother's side of the family is from Venezuela. And this is something that's always been discussed in our household, all of the troubles that have come along with Venezuela and being Venezuelan in another country and whatnot. And then fast forward to end of 2025, December 2025, the US started moving military ships closer and closer towards the Caribbean and around Venezuela. And I don't know, I just had an instinct. And I think I kind of analyzed the situation correctly and made the right guess or assumption that we might be doing something pretty big soon. And my mindset specifically at the time was that if we're about to strike Venezuela, that must mean all of Palantir and Dural, the CIA, the NSA, everyone else is probably actively hacking them or trying to conduct some sort of cyber attack on Venezuelan infrastructure. So it really felt like the best time to kind of go under the cover of darkness. Like how would they know it's me? They're not going to know. Like no one would care. And then that was really the mindset. And then I was thinking about it for a couple days, and I just went in for it. Yeah, I went in, especially because most of it was OSINT, right? So I didn't have as much to worry about as, some people who you could say are more experienced in penetration testing, kind of fully pwning their whole network.
Right, right. Well, I guess tell us kind of for people who, haven't seen any of your stuff on it. So what are some of the things that you were able to find?
Yeah, so I extracted 188 gigabytes of data across all of their government websites, military websites, and state media websites, as well as a few other websites sprinkled in there. Um, I would say some of the most damning information would be the hashes, the Gravatar WordPress hashes. I thought that was really interesting because I can use that as a way to de-anonymize and associate individuals to different organizations. Um, yeah, all of the photos, most of all of their photos contain the EXIF metadata. So that was really my biggest angle in the moment, was trying to download every single photo possible from all of these websites to see maybe if someone took a photo of Maduro with GPS locations a few days ago. And I did not find that, but I did find a lot of photos with GPS coordinates as well as fingerprinting data that could kind of identify the individuals behind those photos, such as the software ID for Photoshop, and kind of a few other things. Interesting, right?
Yeah, so you're able to kind of pinpoint that back to even more specific users.
Yeah, yeah. I I I at the time I got 2,500 hashes. Um, I cracked about 269 of those. It's about 10%, and that was from 33 different domains. And the most interesting email hash was that there's only one email for the user admin for the Patria account in Venezuela. And that's kind of their main surveillance system, if you will, that integrates all of the citizens' ID numbers, national ID numbers, and kind of bank information and other critical information.
Wow. So you don't have to say the password. Was it a strong password at least, or was it pretty weak?
Well, it wasn't passwords specifically, it's email hashes. So
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
yeah, and I think that's not on you. I think that's on me for probably not properly explaining that. But I think a lot of people, when they hear the word hash, they instinctively think password hashes. But this is a bit different because it is email hashes. Yeah. So since it's email hashes, to me, that's much more interesting because it's just another paper trail of finding more information on that individual. Yeah, it would have been awesome if they were password hashes for sure.
You'd
Yeah.
probably be breaking a few more laws at that point.
Yeah, I definitely would be at that point. Yeah, it's
So
probably for
how
the
were you
best.
able to go about gaining kind of all this information?
I was using a series of proxies as well as rotating Tor nodes, and I just kept switching it up. And then if something returned kind of like an error that I wasn't able to connect to, I would switch the methodology to try to appear in Venezuela or somewhere in South America. And that actually helped for about maybe 18% of the websites. Mostly they're military websites. They kind of have an intranet that's it's just better if you access it internally. And a lot of jumping around. Um, the Venezuela Crystal Vault was my first attempt at something at this scale, for sure. And I would call that a very kind of dry run to see what I was able to get, what I was able to ascertain, if it was even valuable, and then the learning and stepping stones from that on how I can improve that. So, for example, right, Tanner, the last month, I've been building a lot of tools to kind of assist and automate in specific sections of gaining all this information. Yeah, I would almost classify it as aggressive OSINT or yeah, very aggressive OSINT.
Well, let's get nerdy with it. I mean, I love making new tools for things. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of my job. So, I guess tell us about them.
Yeah, can you see my screen right now?
I cannot yet.
Okay, let me share this screen with you. I can show you this. This is pretty cool. This is, can you see this? I think you can.
Yes, I can. Yeah, for those of us listening, it's kind of a we're just doing audio for communications, and then we've got some screen sharing going on. So if you're one of our majority of listeners that are on Spotify or Apple Podcast and you want to see some of this, just check us out on YouTube.
Yeah, so this is one of the tools I made. I'm just calling it API Hunter for the moment. And the thought process behind this tool was to kind of have something to just go out and document and log all the open or exposed APIs for me to map it out. It's really kind of a mapping tool for me internally to see what's what and what's where. So this is one tool. I can pop this open for you
So is
right
this all
now.
APIs that don't require like a key to access, or are these like APIs with keys that are leaked, or
These are the direct APIs associated with website domains. So let me
gotcha.
show you first I will show you the website list. So what I do is I take everything like this and I put them into a text file. because it's just kind of easier to run the series of tools. And most of these have are government websites. That's what the GOB is. That's a government in Spanish, right? In government.ve, Venezuela. So we have all these websites. So I take all these and then I dump it into the tool and I begin the tool. And then it goes out and tries to find what's available. And then,
What is it doing to fuzz the API underneath? Are you building it on top of FUF or something like that?
no, this is kind of very specific to my needs and what I'm looking for. I actually haven't looked at any other tools or researched any other tools. Um, there's probably a lot of other tools similar to this. I made one called Pathfinder that was kind of like I think it's called the FF Buster, where it tries to find website paths and like URL
Yeah.
subdomain enumeration. So this was kind of my thought process for something like this. And here's some of the results, right? This is still kind of an alpha product, so I have to go back in, double check everything, make sure it's all working properly, make sure I'm not getting a bunch of false positives. But
I mean,
yeah,
honestly, though, I feel like this is something that even organizations could use if they just wanted to point it at themselves and see what's publicly available that we have.
yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because a lot of the things I've been kind of making on the side, if you will, are kind of ending up being like business products. Yeah, yeah. Here's another one I can show you. I'll let this guy keep running. Here I
And
am
you've got it
cracked.
compiled for Windows.
Yeah.
It's unique.
Yeah, I've had so many people say that to me, and they're like, "You're on Windows?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'm on a Windows machine." And
You know,
it's so
one of
funny.
the best red teamers that I know is almost exclusively a Windows user. So I mean, it
Yeah,
happens. It happens. Some of you
yeah,
guys are
I love it.
weird.
Yeah, we certainly are. I mean, I have the Linux and I run Kali on a lot of stuff. I mostly use Kali when I'm war driving
Yeah.
or kind of like using something that's very heavily dependent on like a Linux distro. But I'm looking at my PC here. But yeah, so right here back to the hash cracker. Um I've uploaded 117,000 hashes. I've cracked roughly about 41,000 hashes. The
On the
30,000.
screen, I'm still
Mhm.
seeing API Hunter.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. It looks like it's not moving either. You might stop and restart share.
All right, here we go.
There we
That
go.
Yeah, so this is running, this is Hashcracker. This is trying to solve all the hashes that I have. And this isn't running like Hashcat would on a GPU. It's not that intensive on my hardware because I am only guessing based on pre-computed patterns. First and last name. You know what I mean? You get hired at a company and they assign you an email. It's
Yeah.
usually a variation of first initial, last name, a combination of first and last. And this is it. So kind of remarkable. Um, I've cracked 30,000. That's what this says here. That was from prior. This session of running this tool, I've cracked 10,688. Just one of the other tools, right?
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And what is this right here pulling? I see some .mx's.
Those are Mexican websites. Yeah, those are Mexican domains. I was kind of running I was looking into a bunch of Mexican domains and I got hashes from there. And that's what it's working on now.
Is that part of a larger project that you're working on with that?
ODINT, yeah, everything kind of tying directly back to ODINT. Kind of systematically documenting all of the security failures from all of these world governments. Um, Yeah, think of it more like I would say like a library or combination of Wayback Machine distributed as Pirate Bay so that it's very accessible. And we have mirrors, lots of redundancy mirrors, with a WikiLeaks attitude. It's kind of how this
Yeah.
all came about. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Well, I guess that's a pretty good segue. I don't want to totally leave the tool talk yet, but you mentioned ODINT a little bit, and we talked about it a little bit before we started recording. But I guess you just want to kind of let everybody know kind of what that project's all about and where they can find it.
Yeah, so it's a new nonprofit that I have established. We are 501(c)(3) pending. ODINT stands for the Observatory for Digital Infrastructure and Network Transparency. It's also a nod to the word OSINT because that's our primary focus is OSINT. And we are trying to document and catalog the tech stacks for every military and government website. Yeah, so all of the exposed government APIs, any identity exposure research, analyzing the hashes and what kind of vulnerabilities might be tied into that. The biggest priority is infrastructure mapping. Uh, excuse me, trying to get comprehensive enumeration of all the domains and subdomains, EXIF and metadata analysis. And I currently have a checklist with about 300 different features or items that could be ascertained or dumped from a website. And again, no hacking, no breach or bypass or anything anything done maliciously.
That's what's really so impressive to me is how much you're able to gain staying within the boundaries of the law. You know, you're not getting initial access somewhere and pulling files out of a share. This is all above board. Everything is right here. And I mean, I think it makes it cooler to me. It makes it a little bit more impressive. I
Thanks.
mean,
Thanks. I appreciate that.
like of course
Yeah.
everybody has some dirt inside of their shares, but what's publicly available that they don't know is available, right? That's the
Yeah.
interesting part.
And I guess I should kind of back up and preface that I come from a background of being a private investigator since I was 17.
Oh wow.
So yeah, both of my parents were private investigators. I have a private investigator agency that's still active and running. And our industry of private investigations has been totally wiped out because of technology and OSINT, really. OSINT has really destroyed the private investigators as a whole. It's almost like a relic now. So the last decade or so, naturally, right, I've just been real interested in OSINT and kind of research, and I've always felt that it's tied back into private investigating somehow, and I've never really been sure how to connect or bridge the two worlds of classical investigations with technology, and I think I've figured out the recipe for it. Yeah, yeah. And in my opinion, I feel like a lot of people shit on OSINT. It's kind of looked down a little bit in the cyber sec community. I think penetration testing certainly gets more attention than anything OSINT. And it's just interesting to me from my perspective because I was taught that the first stages of any hacking, the hacking like pipeline and the hacking stages is OSINT and is the reconnaissance stage. What
It
do you think about
is.
that, Tanner?
It is. It also depends, right? So in the world that I live in, a lot of the times, it's actually not. And it's not because it's not
Mm,
valuable or useful or anything like that. It has to do with legality and scoping. Um, we have some clients that want us to do OSINT, and then we say, okay, cool, this is the things that we find. They verify that as in scope, and then we go after it. But the thing is, they have to pay for that, right? So that's another day,
sure.
2, 3, 4, whatever, depending on how large the organization is. That's more time that they have to pay for. But most organizations would rather go. Well, yeah, let me just give you the scope and you just start working on that because it saves them money and everything. And a lot of everybody's working on a budget at the end of the day. So
Mhm.
if I
Mhm.
spend 2 days doing OSINT, it's two less days that I can spend actually, working on, password spraying and getting into stuff.
Ah, I see. Fascinating. Fascinating.
So I get it from that point, but I do think people really should be, especially larger organizations, that they don't know what's out there. I have found insane stuff in open S3 buckets. I mean,
Wow.
the things that you can find doing it. I mean, it is pretty staggering at times.
Yeah, so kind of tying back into your kind of original thought there that yeah, it is a lot of data, and I think it is kind of shocking to as many people as it is because it's not hacking, and it is a lot of things that are just sitting there. Um,
I
it's all it's all more focused for the technically inclined mind. I think anyone in tech kind of can assume exactly what we're doing, but to anyone outside, I mean, it looks pretty wild.
Yeah, it's wizardry, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that a lot of the people who are more seasoned in it also get jaded with some of the talks on OSINT and things like that. Where if you have a hacking conference and you put up a call for papers, you'll get more talks on OSINT and recon than anything, because it's kind of more the easy OSINT stuff is pretty easy to talk about, right? Where you're clearly doing something past that here. But whenever you just talk about, hey, here's how you use a mess, here's how find the who
Yeah,
works at a company, and here that sort of thing. A lot
yeah,
of
I'm
people
tracking.
who just start wanting to get into the talk, doing talks and making themselves known. A lot of people go straight towards doing recon or OSINT. Um, and I think that people kind of like, oh yeah, it's another OSINT talk, it's another recon talk. I think that that's a fairly common, fairly common thing. But if you're bringing something unique and cool, something that's, or something that's an interesting scale or something like that, it definitely changes things.
Hmm.
But I mean, I think most of the people that I associate regularly with still think OSINT is super cool, even on a geopolitical level.
Yeah.
Um, I
I
mean,
think it's something we all use but kind of don't speak about. It's just something you kind of instinctually know to do. And yeah, yeah, I agree with everything that you said. Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, I think that's a good point. Also, is it's instinctual, right? Where it's you might not be thinking of, oh, I'm going to do OSINT, but if you go, who am I going to target here? I don't know. Let's look at their LinkedIn. Who's a good target? Okay, this guy's a good target. Well,
Exactly.
I know this person's email, it's probably the same format as this guy's email. Like you can, really move through things that way. It's funny. There's a OneDrive. Have you ever done a OneDrive enumeration?
No, I haven't done that. No. Huh.
So the Microsoft has finally, after us doing it for years, started to fix it. There are some methods now to where you can still do it that are not public yet. But
Interesting.
essentially, what you do is similar to how you're cracking these email hashes. So we take the census database and we make every possible name. We find out what format the email is in, because you can always find someone's email.
Sure.
You find out what format the email is in, and then you do first dot last name at domain.com for every possible name that could be in the US Census database. And
Oh,
you will get it. So what basically happened is Microsoft for years had it to where on OneDrive, if you could find a OneDrive tenant, which basically everybody has,
yeah.
um, if you could find a OneDrive tenant, you could check and it would say invalid password or user does not exist, which is hilarious because that's like day one
Mm.
secure coding.
Yeah, yeah.
So essentially you could spray all these usernames, and anytime you got invalid password, you could just, we're just trying a blank password in every possible name. And it was, you could write, if there's like no rate limiting, you could spend
Wow,
time
wow.
with. Uh,
Fascinating. That like
and yeah.
that like the websites you use to see I type in your username to see if you have an account and it checks the forgot my password or trying to sign up for an account in that name if that username's been established or not. Interesting. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Same concept, except it was, O365 or Entra. It was the, so we were able to gain essentially every user for the majority of organizations for a long time. And they recently started fixing that. And now there are some workarounds you can do. It's a lot harder, but you can still do it. But yeah, so I'm sure that'll be public soon.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's real awesome. But yeah,
But
that's
yeah, man,
a
this
little bit
thing is
about
this
ODINT.
thing going here
Oh,
already. So yeah, I love it.
oh yeah, this thing go it stalls and then it'll fly through some. And you know what I think it is? I think it's that organization has like a consistent naming convention, so it flies through sometimes. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. I guess tell us a little bit about your hardware you've got to set on for our nerds here.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at this, and I think I can pull this up and show you. I don't see why not. I can show you my PC if it wants to cooperate. Okay, that's giving me an issue. But for my main computer, I have one NVIDIA 3070. I'm running an i9 CPU. I think it's the 12 thread or the 24 thread. It's one of the stronger ones. Um, and then as well as my mining rig, my hash monster rig, I have a five NVIDIA 3070s sitting here.
Did you
I
pick that
have
up from somebody who was kind of quitting the mining?
I actually made that on a whim because I didn't understand what a mining rig was. So I have to physically build it myself to kind of fully comprehend how it's put together. And at the end of the day, it's just a computer with five GPUs.
Sure is.
And I was like, wow, that's it? Like, I thought this was more complicated. But
Well,
the truth,
some
yeah.
of the older ones that were more ASIC based, I guess, they're a little weirder. But yeah, all of the effective ones are just GPUs.
Yeah. And I think the most difficult thing when you get into that is finding a motherboard that can support that many GPUs. And I think that's like when you're deep in the crypto realm. And then yeah, on my personal PC I have 64 gigabytes of RAM. I was talked out of 128 and I kind of wish now I kind of wish now I had that 128 with how expensive RAM is.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, especially whenever you're going after hashes, being able to have a bigger word list in VRAM definitely helps.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But that yeah, I'm really a hardware guy. The love for hardware has always been passionate. War driving on a Raspberry Pi is what was the gateway drug that got me into computers and cybersecurity. And
Well, I wanna ask all about that too. So, I guess tell me your war driving journey. I can tell you my where I first was introduced to war driving. I think I'm older than you. Um,
Mhm.
so back whenever WEP was the standard, we used to pull up at stop signs and see how quickly we could crack a WEP before we had to leave the stop sign. I mean, it was just you to
Wow,
just
cool.
drive around all night and just crack wep in random places. And this was even pre-Wiggle. Um, and it was just the thing to do as young teenagers running
Wow, that's so
around.
awesome.
And
Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of I kind of knew it as a thing from there, and it's a totally different thing with a different focus even now. So I guess tell us about how you got involved and tell us about war driving today.
yeah, I got involved with war driving. I remember the day exactly. It was September 14th, 2021. A Kansas City hacker named Axon from SecKC, Kansas City's security
I
community,
I actually know who
pinpoint
that is.
yeah, my good friend Axon pinpointed my location almost exactly. He was off by 30 miles because he saw my Wi-Fi name. And
Wow.
I wasn't even concerned about OPSEC or how concerning that was. I was kind of more totally enthralled and fascinated with how the hell did you do that? And then that's when war driving came along and I was introduced to war driving. And mapping this invisible world of Wi-Fi networks, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. And then since then, Axon and I have founded a Wiggle group called hashtag War Driving. We're the #2 ranked group in the world. It only took us a year and a half to get there. And now I am just hyper focused on war driving. So, what is war driving? I don't know what war driving is. Tell me your Wi-Fi name at home, and I'll tell you your address. That's what war driving is. So, I can now ascertain where someone lives simply by knowing their Wi-Fi name. In the event that a hacker or someone drove by your house while scanning all the signals and frequencies on your street, which you'll be surprised how many people are actually doing that. And yeah, my understanding of war driving was back in the day it was to find the open available networks, see what you could get on for free internet, maybe crack some of those easily crackable networks. Now war driving is for kind of internet points, really. But more so for mapping routers and anything with a Wi-Fi chip or Bluetooth chip. It's pretty cool. And then you start getting into kind of private intelligence, being able to track and monitor where individuals are at scale. And that's what a lot of private companies are now doing with third-party data sets, which is the loophole that the government can't do because of all the Patriot Acts and the spying against Americans. Well, private companies can do that because
Yeah,
they're
and
not held
everybody
responsible to
knows
those rules. Yeah, that's
everybody knows Palantir is totally not the government. So
yeah, yep. They might have a lot of government money, but they're not the government. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So they can do all the sketchy stuff.
Yeah, they can do all the sketchy stuff. So I've been trying to see how I can apply kind of some of those principles to war driving from what I learned at my time doing kind of defense contracting and based off of what they were doing. At the time we were using cell phone telemetry and just raw cell phone data to track people from cell phone pings. And I'm seeing a lot more of that in different forms because you can't get cell phone data, right? So yeah,
So how are
yeah.
you going about obtaining cell phone data before?
That was for an NSA company that I was working for.
Okay.
So they were getting that data. They were calling it Viking Quest at the time, which I think was an obfuscated name. And I actually just found out that that was all kind of real data and what the hell was going on at this weird company years after the fact. But looking back on it now, yeah, they actually had cell phone data. And I know based on the pings and how frequent they were that yeah, we were tracking Russians in Africa and the Houthis when Russia was in Africa a few years ago fighting Ukraine. Probably about a year and a half, 2 years before anyone knew who the Houthis were in the news. But so I'll give you an example. We were looking at a ping on a map, and how is this guy going from one location to another city an hour away so fast? Oh, it's because he's the helicopter pilot and he was moving between bases. So it's interesting, right? Yeah, it'd be great if you could do something like that, but you can't get the cell phone data because it's just very strictly controlled. Only the NSA can get that, right? So
Without a subpoena.
yeah, without a subpoena. So I've been seeing people try to do that similarly with other things, Bluetooth, SDR, Wi-Fi. Um,
So
yeah.
people are so I guess people are kind of similar to war driving, which probably a lot of the people listening, if not most, are somewhat familiar with. So a lot of people are doing that with Bluetooth now as well.
Bluetooth, and I know mostly with metadata. So the big data brokers, whatever data you can buy, you can de-anonymize. Bulk data inherently de-anonymizes itself by its sheer nature. Once you have that much data, it doesn't matter if I don't have the guy's name. I have everything else. So you can start to develop a profile and create what they call behaviors on that individual. So what's a behavior? Let's say, let's say I have all the data on you or all the phones in your city from the advertisement data. I can generally profile you on where you go, your activity, your frequency. And yeah, it's getting pretty scary. And this is becoming more and more public. It's just becoming more public. Kind of people are slowly catching on to it. Yeah. I think the most
So it
recent
kind
one
of
I saw, sorry to cut you off. I think the most recent one I saw in the news was ICE hired a company to track American cell phones or track protesters at a protest. It's a company called Penlink, and they do cell phone data telemetry through metadata. So yeah, data is the new gold for everything. Specifically for spying on people though. Yeah.
kind of goes back to the 32 or 32.6 or 33, depending on who you're talking to, bits of entropy.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so that's a really interesting thing is where you can, figure out exactly who somebody is down to the exact person based on 32 bits of data that's not necessarily a name. And a lot of it is data that people would not think about being the data that they would look for. Um, so yeah,
Oh, that's
you
cool.
can definitely go ahead.
I'm not too familiar with that. I roughly knew about that, but you're explaining it much better than what I knew. Yeah, that's almost like exactly what it is. Because
I-
you don't need the full name. I can still figure you out with the rest of the information. Wow,
If you
32
can
bits of entropy.
gain if you can gain 20 of the 32 bits, you can narrow it down, right? And then you can just continue to narrow down essentially to figure
Ah,
out who somebody likely is. So yeah, it's something
that's
I would encourage people to go down the rabbit hole on. It's definitely one of those topics you got to actually like dive into, but it's
sure.
worth the read. It's worth the read for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It looks real interesting. I'll probably look into this. It's funny because that's what most of my tools have kind of been is process of elimination. And yeah, yeah. I think that's what a lot of these AI tools are kind of doing now. I know, for instance, the like the application bots, the ATS, the applicant tracking systems. You could kind of call it a form of 32 bits of entropy by how it narrows down all the applicants. Huh, maybe not, maybe not. Interesting.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask about is probably what you're most known for is your hardware setup for war driving. You did a pretty crazy setup. Um, I guess maybe I don't know if you can bring a picture up or not, but tell us about that. It's pretty wild to see.
Yeah, thanks. War driving. So, everyone is very, everyone likes to war drive, but no one wants to really push the limits of war driving. Uh, Dustin Finn, Busy Signal, is certainly one of those individuals. He's been a great resource and a great friend for me in war driving. I really have to give him credit for giving me the information and knowledge to kind of transcending to that next level. So, what am I talking about? Everyone likes to war drive on ESP32s or Raspberry Pis. I am hyper focused on that there are 14 Wi-Fi bands in 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi spectrum. 5 gigahertz has about 36 additional channels, and then 6 gigahertz has an additional 60 to 72 channels. So if you want to war drive all of 2.4 gigahertz, right, to efficiently do that, you need to have 14 Wi-Fi cards, one monitoring each frequency band. So that's kind of where my monster rigs come into play. So I'm a full power kind of guy. I like having things that have as much power as possible. like I was mentioning with the RAM. I wish I got 128 gigabytes of RAM. So I want a war driving machine that can run on the most modern CPU and specs possible. And I still actually haven't done that yet. The best thing I have is a recycled mining rig that I was using, and that's the one that you're talking about with all the antennas. Yeah, I've kind of changed out the hardware to a few different systems. I was using a Raspberry Pi 5, not enough power, upgraded to a Zima board. Zima board works great. There's not enough USB ports for that many Wi-Fi adapters. So I started using a full computer rig, and then those Axle Tech antennas that come out of the window and go into the roof. The whole point of that is to cross the metal roof barrier because there's suspicion in the industry that that might be obstructing some of the frequency from the antennas. So the idea, right, is to get the Wi-Fi antenna on top of that metal barrier, which is on the roof of the car. And then you end up looking like a Google Street Maps car or a Waymo. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty crazy to see. So the photos I've seen, I saw you also did one a little shoot in a classic car that was pretty cool.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah, driving that around.
just a whole bunch of Wi-Fi antennas stuck all over a car. It's like
Yes,
it definitely it loses the inconspicuous.
it
But
definitely does. But within itself, it's so because it loses that, it's so obnoxious and blatant in your face that no one kind of bats an eye. I think people kind of look at me and they must just think I'm a crazy person or something. I don't think anyone has any idea what's going on. Yeah, I've never been stopped. No one's asked. Uh, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. I can
yeah,
tell you about the, oops, go ahead.
I think that people also worry about getting caught, like get people stopping them. Oh, I'm gonna look weird. I think people worry about that far too much.
Definitely.
And I do a lot of shooting gun stuff, and there's this, concept of like the gray man, and it's funny
Sure.
because everybody who gets really into gray man stuff generally ends up looking weird, and it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like whenever I do, physical pen tests, which we do quite a lot of, I just don't really worry about it that much. I just kind of go, okay, what do these people look like who either work here, or if I'm in
Hmm.
a city, like what do they look like? And I just want to look just good enough, just like a normal dude. And very, very rarely do people ever stop what I'm doing. I've learned that I can go into just about any hotel in the world as long as I'm wearing, maybe a collared shirt and a halfway decent pants.
Yeah.
Even,
Wow.
a hoodie. Like you can go in there, sit in the lobby, get a free coffee. If you just need to stake out and watch somewhere across the street for a few hours, like nobody has ever stopped me in a situation like that. So I mean, I think this looking out of place thing, people definitely get a little self-conscious about and they worry about it too much. And I think it's probably the same with war driving.
It definitely is from my experience. Yeah. Yeah. It's very benign information. Um, but yeah, it's fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. I can
It
tell you
is.
specifically that I'm using the Alpha Network AXMLs, which are 6 gigahertz, and it also has Bluetooth integrated into those cards. So I can scan Wi-Fi and Bluetooth at the same time, and it's just so much fun. There's a whole world of radio frequency signals out there that are invisible and constantly being transmitted. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Have you gotten into playing with any RF outside of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth sort of stuff? Or
Y-
I've gotten really
Yeah.
into. I've always kind of been like a little bit of a ham radio network guy, but um, I have recently gotten into LoRa, and I've got an open MANnet setup sitting right across the room and
Oh,
playing with
sweet.
that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a lot of fun. I've recently started getting into that. I've been exploring SDR a lot more. I've been war driving on SDR with multiple SDR radios, so I can monitor my neighbor's TPMS tire pressure sensors. I can see how much air they have in their sensors. My neighbor's Wi-Fi, I'm sorry, my neighbor's weather stations. So I got about four weather stations in the neighborhood that I can see the precipitation, rain, weather, wind, barometer, altitude. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. The SCR is a lot of fun. It opens up a whole new level to war driving and the kind of surveillance world for sure.
Are you just using like an RTL SDR or a hack RF, or what are you using for that?
I'm using an RTL SDR. Yeah, I have the V4, the V3, and I was using the new Elec one. I was having some problems with that. I think that's user error problems on my part though. Yeah, but with
Yeah,
SDR, sorry, yeah, with SDR, there's so many frequencies that it's another rabbit hole within itself, and you can kind of get lost with what to monitor on what frequency because there's just so much. There's so much. Yeah. All the planes are on like 1090 ADSB, and then you got LoRa on 915 megahertz. I haven't played with LoRa too much. I have it. I use Meshtastic here and there. I'm just not a big LoRa guy, I guess.
we were playing with setting up some LoRa repeaters. We figured out there's the gun club that I'm a member of is at a far end of our town. And then my office is kind of right at the other end between right in the outskirts of Oklahoma City. So our office is right between, the suburb of Oklahoma City and the gun club's on the other one. And I realized if I get a good antenna on a LoRa repeater, I can get it all the way there. And then we talked to somebody who has a house kind of like another midway point from west. And I realized that's the midway point to my house. And so we're at this point looking at building a fairly good LoRa mesh, just having the four
Wow.
repeaters set up. So it's really fun. I mean, it's you'd have essentially off-grid communications, not rely on any cell network for anyone who wants to use that with your little $30 LoRa device you got from Amazon.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Speaking of that, I've been real interested in, I think it's called Open CRWT. It's like the open cell phone infrastructure towers that you can kind of throw up and make. And there's some interesting guys doing some from the Dirty Bastard Collective. Those
I
guys
am
are
never heard
doing
of
some cool
this,
stuff.
and I am you have my attention. I got my whole start in this whole thing doing phone freaking. Um,
Oh, okay.
tell me about this. I need to hear about this.
It seems like we can throw up our own cell phone tower infrastructure. You have to pay to play, right? All the hardware is going to cost you a bit, but I am not too, I don't know, but apparently it's capability that we can do. And Dirty Bastard Collective over on Instagram, they have been throwing up their own cell phone towers, which looks very cool. And yeah, that's something that I need to research as well. Uh,
You gotta link me up with those guys. That's super cool. Yeah, that sounds right up my alley. That's
yeah,
very cool. I
I'll send
wonder
you
how
the
they're
link.
navigating
Look.
legalities there. It gets confusing, the legalities on cell stuff, because you're pretty limited on what you can do. I'm sure they figured something out, but you
I think they're kind of off-grid guys, so I don't think they really care. Yeah.
they they s-
Yeah, they're doing something. Yeah. Yeah,
so
but
we
that is interesting though.
I recently set up a television station at our office, where I got all these old. I found a hard drive from 2005 to 2007 with a bunch of old hacking documentaries and videos that would circulate IRC of people doing red boxing on payphones and just crap like that. And I spun up a TV, like an internal RTSP TV station for our office, and we were talking about how cool it would be to broadcast that. And
Oh, that would be cool.
pretty much you're at that point, even if you're just doing it small power. if you're running a pirate TV station and the
Sure,
FCC
sure.
will come fuck you in the ass. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it is it's pretty they're pretty relentless with it. So then we started looking like what's a broadcasting license? Like it turns out it's far more expensive than a meme. So
Wow, wow,
yeah.
really.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
mean, it would be cool, run our own little pirate TV station inside the office. But I think the
Cool.
legality is putting a stop there. So we might run some coax and do some internal cable stuff. I don't know. It depends on how geeky
Interesting.
we get with it. But right now, our TSP is working. We just got some Raspberry Pis going now, where
Oh, cool, man.
it
I
basically
think
just
I
opens
think
VLC,
really,
streams RTSP.
I think you would actually have more luck using an AM band instead of FM band. I feel like I've heard in the past that it's easier to get onto AM for like talk shows and whatnot. And in fact, that's why there's so many talk shows on AM bands, because I think it might be less restrictive than FM. But I also have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. That is
So for
interesting though.
for the TV, if you want to work with like a standard TV receiver, you need UHF.
Mm.
And the UHF bands that are allocated for television are, as you might imagine, pretty locked down by broadcast companies.
Oh, I see. I see.
So if you want a frequency to broadcast on, you basically have to go fight NBC.
Gotcha. But this is what all the fun is of the radio frequency and just all this different signals. Because I thought I mean, they're constantly expanding it because it's such a small range and there's just so many new things coming out yearly that yeah, they got to give us some more ranges for the people to play with.
My personal take is that, the FCC just needs to disband, but that's a
Yeah,
hot take. I
that
get it.
too.
I get it.
We could start a petition. You'd get so many signatures.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure they would love me after that.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
wind up in jail for something benign.
yeah. You
This guy
violated
had an
the
illegal
terms and
Wi-Fi antenna
conditions.
on his router.
Yeah. Yeah, that would definitely be it. An illegal Wi-Fi antenna on his router. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it'll be something. It'll be something.
Oh man, that's fun.
Well, okay. So we talked a little bit about ODINT, some war driving, stuff like that. You got any other cool projects? I feel like you're always doing something cool.
Yeah, yeah, in the middle of looking for work, so to keep my mind occupied, I'm just constantly working on different projects. Everything's always a research project, right? I think the most recent one is we have a new PCB board in the works, which we just finished. That will be coming out soon. That's specifically for war driving and signals intelligence stuff. Working on ODINT, making a bunch of tools for the community for ODINT to use, like the hash cracker and the hash hunter. And yeah, that's all I can think of
Well,
right now.
tell us about the boards. So you guys have your own PCB coming out. It's gonna give people kind of more capabilities like what you have set up, or
Yeah, it's gonna have more capabilities. I don't think I can say everything just yet because it's kind of
sure.
like a new board. It will have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, SDR, LoRa, and yeah, and a few other features on it. So it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife for scanning all of the things. Because if I were to go war driving, I need massive equipment and rigs. And there's a lot of people who don't want to deal with that bullshit, if you will. They just kind of want to press a button and go. And that's what this is for. It's kind of a product to serve that. So you'll be able to war drive Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, SDR, depending on the frequency you want to set it to. And we have LoRa in there. Yeah, and a few other things.
That's awesome. Well, we'll do a demo whenever you get it set up.
Yeah,
Whenever you get
appreciate
them
that.
in production. Yeah, we'll have to do a demo, make some videos on it because that sounds super cool. Because I feel like it's mostly just how many alpha adapters can you plug into USB ports? Like,
And that's been my biggest issue is that my number one enemy is I cannot find reliable USB extenders. The most I can get is 4 or 7. Anything after 7 is a nightmare because you just have so many Wi-Fi cards plugged in. Yeah. Trying to think of a solution for that too. Hmm.
Right on. Well, that's super cool. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of exciting. War driving is something that I've wanted to get back into. It's not something I've done in many years, probably just due to time constraints, but it's something that I just think is really cool. I like the way that Wiggle has it set up where it's gamified, where it's like you've got your I saw hashtag war
Yes.
driving is doing very well. Uh
Yep. Yep.
and
Yes.
I know they had something at DEF CON about that as well, right?
Yeah, at every DEF CON, we have the Worldwide War Drive competition, which is a virtual war driving competition for about 3 or 4 days. It starts a couple days before DEF CON, and then part two is the in-person event at DEF CON. So it's a lot of fun. And Wiggle is a great starting point for sure. I am specifically using Kismet on Linux. Yeah, because you have full power and full access with Linux, and it's Kismet is just an amazing tool that's so underrated. It's kind of remarkable. Yeah.
Absolutely. Honestly, yeah, that's all I've ever used. I guess whenever I say Wiggle, I'm more referencing their website, right? Where you can,
Sure, do the
pull up
upload.
their
Yeah.
map and do the upload and everything like that. Yeah, of course. So, okay. I guess that's a good question to ask. I've never done war driving. I vaguely know what it is. I think it's cool. How do I go do it?
Uh, you start with Wiggle on an Android phone. Yeah. But if it's someone like you who's more technically inclined, I would tell you to start with Kismet on Linux. Yeah, it's two different it's the same function. I guess it depends on who wants to use it and what they're trying to get out of it.
Let's just
Yeah.
say our general listener is probably somebody who either works in security or is trying to get into security, and they're kind of living in that world. Maybe they know Linux, they know some
Okay.
hardware, some things like that. So what's the should they go buy 1,000 Wi-Fi adapters? What should that person do to get started?
I think that person should buy a Raspberry Pi 5, a GPS module, a Wi-Fi adapter, and that's it. If you can make all those things work, get Kismet running on Linux on the Raspberry Pi, set up the GPS so it works, so you have GPS coordinates on your device and that you're using an external Wi-Fi adapter, that is the gateway drug that opens up so much more knowledge and information. It it's just unbelievable. Yeah. I'm very hands-on. I can listen to 1,000 presentations and talks. I'm not going to learn anything unless I kind of physically do it and work through it. And that's what got me into it. And that's what led me into building these monster rigs. And all of them are really the same exact thing, just on different machines. So I'm swapping out the Raspberry Pi for a bigger computer, but I'm still using those same Wi-Fi adapters and GPS components. As well as if you're more technically or you love cybersecurity or you just want to learn or figure out how to do it, download Kismet on Linux and learn Kismet. It's a lot easier than what you think, and it's just so much fun. I mean, yeah. For anything for Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, you have to be using Kismet. You can't be using Wireshark or what's the other one? I forget. Those are kind of different tools. This is raw signals monitoring and raw signals intelligence, which is only really capable on Kismet. Yeah. And you spell that Kismet. Yep. I think
Right
that's what
on.
I would have to say for sure. Yeah.
Right on. Have you
Strongly
ever gotten to
opinionated.
do any like of the Wi-Fi like hacking, cracking sort of stuff, or
No, I haven't done any of that. No. No, I've kind
not
of really
even trying to hack your own?
no, not even. I've really stayed in my lane with war driving and OSINT, and I'm really just now kind of branching out into these different avenues and kind of ideas. Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I think pen testing is the coolest thing in the world. It's very difficult to learn it and figure it out, But yeah, that is the end goal to kind of know how to do a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Well, that's me. I just get thrown the most random stuff, and everything that somebody else doesn't do, I get told to figure it out. So that's
Wow, awesome. Yeah.
no.
That's the greatest skill, right? Figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, we do a fair amount of Wi-Fi pen tests. It's basically, it's probably less exciting than you would hope. It's mostly
What is
like
a
it's trying to
Wi-Fi pen
think.
test? When you say that, what is that?
So the companies that are hiring us are wanting to know, is our Wi-Fi safe? If some
Oh.
random person pulls up, is our Wi-Fi safe? Which basically means the two most likely attacks are DAuth attacks and PKMID. And you can
Oh.
almost always get a hash, right? So
Mhm.
at that point, it's okay, well, your password better be really good. Um,
Oh, I've done that a few times. Yes, I have done that actually quite a bit.
You know, it's a funny thing. I feel like I run into that with a lot of like smart hacker people where I'm like, "Have you ever done this?" And they're like, "Oh, well, no." And then I start explaining it and they're like, "Oh, no, yeah, I've done that." Like
Yeah.
it's actually very common.
Yeah, I've done that on Hashcat quite a bit. Yeah, that actually
Yeah.
is a lot of fun. I went crazy and I downloaded a 500 gigabyte word list that has like 8 billion passwords, and it's just still not enough passwords because I mean, you throw a few numbers and special characters in there, and good luck trying to figure that out. Yeah, but no, yeah, a
I've
lot of
got
people have
a
default passwords.
I've got a 120 gig word list that we have appended quite a bit, and it is pretty successful with rules. So like a dive
Mm,
rule on Hashcat and best
hmm
66, which
hmm
used to be best 64, but they changed it. Like just adding that to those rules is generally pretty good. We'll make custom word lists based on an organization. So
Gotcha.
like
I've heard a lot of that. Mm.
if they're an oil company and the company's name, and we'll run cool CEWL, we'll run that against their domain and pull like all the things they talk about, their company name, things like that, and generate a word list with that. And we'll try that first, and then we'll try a big word list and a bigger word list, and just kind of step it down. But yeah, there's a lot of just can we crack it involved in a Wi-Fi pen test. So a
Oh,
lot
oh,
of the
interesting.
times I just show up on site for, a day or half a day even, and I'm like, okay, well, we got your hashes. We'll be back. Like, I mean, we can do,
Gotcha. Yeah.
like the Wi-Fi pineapple evil AP stuff. It's not nearly as viable as it was 7 or 8 years ago because
Sure.
everything, browsers are locked down with TLS, and
Hmm hmm
everything freaks out if you try to do a man in the middle. And then, it's that stuff gets unrealistic. That's also the thing about pen testing is you have to stay uh, realistic for the most part. Because if I spend 3 days that I didn't need to bill a client to figure out something that would never actually happen in the real world, like, is that the right thing to do for that
Oh,
client?
I think
But
that is probably the most underspoken, undervalued thing imaginable. I think, yeah, yeah, that's very well said because that makes a lot of sense to me because I see a lot of pen testers kind of going after something and then writing a report, and it's like, I mean, what are we even talking about? Like, is anyone even going to do that or figure that out? Like, yeah, interesting, interesting.
100%. Yeah, you have to think about what is a realistic attack vector, and that's going to depend on who the target is. And then you have to try to kind of match that and emulate that. And then, red teaming is a whole different thing, and that gets very, very customized and very particular against what the exact scenarios they want to look at are. And yeah, it's you have to stay within that because your time is essentially your billable, that's your product, right? And so what
Yeah.
is the billable hours that we can do? And if I'm spending, a week doing some super far-fetched stuff to find an O day that's actually not that
Mm.
big of a deal, that is nobody's ever going to target them with, like, they're probably not going to be super happy that they paid a whole bunch of money for that. So
Interesting. Yeah, this is kind of like behind the curtain of the pen testing world. Wow, that makes sense, right? Makes sense.
yeah, yeah, and it's at the same time there are people who I did a panel up at Northwest Arkansas Hacking WA. last year, and they had a guy on the panel. I wish I could remember his name. I think of it when I stopped. But his whole job is basically finding ODINTs, and he's like talking to me and another red teamer, and he's like, "You guys do the cool stuff," and I'm like, "Nah, man, you do the cool stuff. I don't get to do that where I just sit down and like, get to find new
Wow.
exploits on stuff." Like I did a full stack pen test on a mobile phone very
Oh
recently,
wow. Wow.
which
Wow.
was it's quite the undertaking, and there is not enough time that you can have. I could do that full
Wow.
time. I mean, think about like I want you to pen test Windows. Like pen testing a phone is not so different, right? It's a full operating system. There's
Mm.
hundreds of APKs. It's just it goes on and on and on. And we found, I will say that that particular phone that we tested had very good security. But we found some stuff, and then it's like, okay, cool. We found these things that if a random person found would qualify as an ODay and a CVE, but like, it's part of an engagement and it's NDA, so no CVE for you. So
That's
that's
fascinating. Yeah, everything with cell phones is a whole nother form of wizardry. I had very difficult times even rooting one of my phones just to put Net Hunter on it. So yeah, I can certainly appreciate that. Phones are another beast of themselves.
Yeah, it's something that we want to do a lot more of at Alias. And I think it could be a good niche for us because there's not a lot of people who will just outright pen test a phone.
Yeah, I can
Because
think
I
of a
mean,
few people I could put you in touch with. Corey
yeah,
Godero being one of them. Yeah, interesting.
yeah, send them our way. I mean, it's very fun though, because it's kind of like this new sort of area where people don't generally go, where you talk about, web app hacking or, I would say like if you had to say what's my specialty, like network attacks and Active Directory attacks, probably, because that's the most effective, right? I do a lot of internal penetration testing, assume breach sort of stuff. And if you know how to attack network protocols and you know Active Directory, you can pretty much get domain admin on anything.
Wow.
And it's like I would love to spread that out more into the phone stuff with my roots being in the phone freaking
Oh,
world and all
yeah,
that. But
absolutely. Yeah. We can make it happen, I'm sure. I know
hey,
there's quite a few people who are interested in recovering information from lost phones.
it's
Kind of
interesting.
what's on that phone.
Our company started off as a forensics company back in 2010. Our founder Donovan started as Alias Forensics.
Oh, cool.
And it was mostly mobile phone forensics, computers as well, but mobile phone forensics is a big part of our company. And even though we don't really make much money on it, we continue to do it just kind of as a. So the reason he started it is he
Hmm.
saw people going to jail for things that they shouldn't have gone to jail for. He saw that there was nobody to tell anybody what was going on other than the feds. So the
Hmm.
feds had their people and they would do their forensics and they would analyze something and go through it and they would say this
Oh,
is
I
the way it
see.
is. We have a forensic analysis about this. But there was nobody to say a second opinion about it, at least in our area at that time. So he started the company, and that was kind of the whole thing and that's largely what we still do is we do, kind of third party forensics for whenever, law enforcement's saying something and we have to determine if that's true or correct or yeah. So a lot of litigation stuff, but yeah, that also leads into, hey, can you recover files from this phone and things like that. And yeah, if you're interested in that topic, I can put you in touch with my forensics dude. He's a super nerd about it. He loves it. But yeah.
Yeah, very interested in that. Makes me think of this new Secret Service car called I got it pulled up on the screen here. I don't know if you can still see this. Let me uh let me reshare the screen just so you can see. Take a look at this, bro. What is that?
Oh, that's sick.
What the fuck is that, bro?
That's their mobile
I,
forensics lab.
dude, I thought it was AI. It's not AI. It's called DART, Digital Analysis Response Truck from the Secret Service. So it speeds up the analysis. They can do it on the field. So the scarp comes up, they celebrate your phone, they do all this
Oh,
stuff.
I bet you I know why that exists. So Celebrite used to have a device called the UFED, which is a funny name for feds, but it is it was a tablet. It ran an outdated version of Windows, and the only thing it did was run Celebrite. We have Celebrites and all that stuff. So
Oh,
you
cool.
you'd plug in and it is dummy proofed. If you imagine a police officer who's not super technical needed to
Oh,
image a phone,
fascinating.
it's exactly what it needs to be. It tells
That's
you
wow.
what
That's how
model
you
of
got to
phone is
make it.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, click here, tap developer mode 7 times, do this, do this. Like it tells
Wow,
you
brilliant.
how to image a phone. Um, and they recently disbanded the hardware. So they said no more UFEDs. We're only doing the software. You have to have a computer. Um,
Fascinating.
I
Yeah.
bet you that's a response to that.
Oh, it probably is. Yeah. It's in my area. I actually messaged them and I was like, "Can I please come see it?"
Hey, you
That
never
thing's
know.
awesome, bro. Let me take a look at that thing. Come, why not? Like that thing is cool, dude. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, if you look up Dart Secret Service like truck, I mean, this thing just has so many screens and monitors. How the hell did you guys make that? That thing is awesome.
That is very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I need anybody who wants something like that, just come contract us. We'll make it. I don't know how, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna let
that's
my
very
friends know
cool.
for sure.
That's very cool. I don't know. I love that. We talked about making a mobile incident response command center, and
Oh,
that's
cool.
maybe at some point we'll figure it out. Just get a Sprinter van where you can just run a fiber line from the van to the organization outside, and just go
I
plug in and
well,
go.
I don't think it's a joke anymore with this Dart truck and kind of the way things have been moving with just everything. I mean, the boom in technology in the past like 2 years, the last year with AI is just nuts, man. When you say that to me, that is not outside of the realm of possibilities. I mean, talk about unique innovation. Imagine how much time that would save you just doing stuff. Yeah, wow. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, whoever's got your cool teched out vehicles, please send us pictures. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Axion that you mentioned, he's got a pretty cool van set up.
His battle bus. Yep, that's his battle bus, man. He's got a sweet one. His is the only one I know that's as cool as the way he has it set up like that. Yeah.
I had to get him on here. I bet he's got a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, he's a brain for sure. He's got some cool stories for sure. I think he's a phone freak also. I'm pretty sure. Huh.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I know he's been in it for a long time, so
Yeah, he saw
yeah.
it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I do want to make sure we kind of close out a little bit on some of the Odin stuff. So
Yeah,
this is it's community project, right?
it is.
Um, if people want to get involved, if people, they like the goal, the mission, how can people get involved? How can they help? What sort of things can they do?
You can visit our website to read and understand what we're trying to do at odint.io. That's ODINT.io. We also have a GitHub where you can push or open up an issue for ideas. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can send us an email at our contact. We have a few different contacts. We have Google contact forms. We have a Onion share where you can drop us files. We're working on a secure drop. We have a matrix server already established. So there's a few options. I would just direct everyone to the website, odin.io. And
All
I
right.
will also let you know that out of all my websites, this is the only one that I did not put any trackers on. That was very difficult for me to do that, but it felt wrong to do that. So you can visit this website as much as you want. I have no trackers on it. I didn't put Google Analytics or anything like that on it. So it's really just a static web page. Yeah.
Yes, that's true nonprofit.
Yes, very much so. But
Right
man,
on.
Tanner, thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation and you taking the time to invite me on your show. I really appreciate that.
Well, I enjoyed talking, and I'm sure that people listening did as well. So if they have any questions or things to ask you about, should they reach out to you there or anywhere else?
Yeah, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm just unfortunately primarily on Instagram at Ringmaster. That's Ringmaster with a 4 instead of an E, the number 4 instead of the letter E. Or you can kind of go down the rabbit hole and find my LinkedIn, and it's all linked. You could probably find it, and you can send me a message on LinkedIn if you like. We can connect on LinkedIn and become LinkedIn friends. I'm all for that. Yeah. We've been having fun on LinkedIn lately.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody hates it, but we feel like we have to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. Hang on for a second. I'll stop our recording. So,
Sure.
thank you everybody for hanging out with us on another episode of the Scare After Dark podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Woohoo!